All right, guys, this is Norwell Central coming back at you in another YouTube video, and I really appreciate all the love and support so far on my YouTube videos. As we've gone through, I've consistently done a lot of recruiting news, a lot of team news, everything like that in between. I try to be that space in YouTube that can be able to have the comment section alive and want to see a lot of my subscribers being able to comment their thoughts on the videos. So if you would, be sure to leave your comments down below, and let's go ahead and get straight into the video for today. So, of course, yesterday's video, I had some bad news in terms of TJ Abrams flipping his commitment from Florida State to Florida. Now, while it was kind of expected from certain fans and media members as well, it still was kind of a bummer. It is a talented receiver that you don't really want to lose. But, of course, Florida State does have 4 wide receivers committed to the class. But, when you're looking at some of the wide receiver targets that we still have on the board, that means that Florida State is still going after some wide receivers. This isn't quite over with some of those guys that we have. We have Camden Fryer committed to the program, B.J. Gibson, Wayne McCoy. We'll see if that kind of pans out there as well. And then Elijah Moore. And Elijah Moore is more that big body receiver that you really like in terms of this offense. Florida State offered him really early. Is the tallest guy they have. The other 3 guys that they have on the program is 5'11" or 6 foot at that point. But with JoJo Trader, for example, he committed to Miami kind of unexpectedly, and Florida State really didn't know where to turn with that. And I think the recruitment for him is not quite over, but I kind of wanted to focus my content over another prospect at the wide receiver position that maybe Florida State might actually have a chance at, and that is 5-star receiver Jeremiah Smith. He is an Ohio State commit, and he's been committed to the program there since I think December of 22. So he's been committed for quite some time, and he has kind of been pretty honest with his interviews that he's had with a lot of media members that he has been out to see and everything. And he's talked about his relationship with wide receivers coach Brian Hartline for that. But the problem is he is kind of in links with the Northwestern job there with Fitzgerald getting fired recently. And we'll kind of see if that factors into it, because if Hartline takes the Northwestern job, or somebody else does, or if he goes to a different job, whatever the case may be, maybe Smith might actually entertain the idea of Florida State. It may not be so far-fetched. I mean, I'm not saying that Florida State has a great chance in that, but there is a solid chance. I mean, you look at the last visits that he's had. He unofficially visited for a multi-day visit on March the 4th. Came down for 2 or 3 days. Next thing you know, he came back on June the 19th and did another unofficial visit for multiple days. So that's very important there. And now with Knowles 24/7, Zach Blaustein actually reported recently that he's going to be back at the end of July to have another multi-day unofficial visit. And that is absolutely massive to have 3 unofficial visits. And on top of that, he has not wasted an official visit on Florida State just yet. And I think that could be a possibility that he comes down for the Miami game and actually is able to see Florida State in person. Hopefully when they're undefeated or 1 loss or even a 2-loss team. I mean, that's going to be a very good game. Florida State is going to have emotions running wild in that game. And I think Florida State could have a solid chance in being able to hopefully get him. But we'll see. It's a long shot. I think Ohio State definitely has the advantage there in terms of his commitment. So let's just go over the official visits he's had so far. He's went to Georgia in May. He also went to Florida early June, Ohio State June the 9th, and then you turn around and have that Miami visit on June the 21st for an official visit. That is his official visit schedule, and that is a loaded group of contenders. Now, Miami kind of scares me a little bit because, of him being a little bit closer to the Miami area, being from Chaminade High School at that point. Now, the biggest thing with Chaminade is that Edwin Joseph is actually on Florida State's roster, a current defensive back playing the cornerback position. He is very close with Jeremiah Smith, and I think that could be a factor that falls into Florida State's lap. He talks about how he wants to recruit that high school at a high level. He has connections in that area as well. And, of course, while it is kind of closer to Miami in that regard, I do think Florida State has a pretty good chance in terms of the pipeline for that area. But just kind of looking at everything else, Florida is also a big contender as well. Will Alabama get involved with that recruitment? Who knows at this point? But I do think that Miami kind of stands the biggest chance right now, along with maybe Florida as well. But Ohio State, man, they're just hard to beat in terms of just wide receiver production, what they've got on the field so far. And Jeremiah Smith is a very, very talented athlete. Last season, he had 58 receptions, 1,073 yards, and then also 20 total touchdowns in receiving. That is absolutely absurd numbers that Florida State fans would absolutely enjoy to have in their backfield in terms of a playmaker on the wide receiver side of things. But just overall, man, it's one of those things where Jeremiah Smith needs to come on campus. They absolutely love him. He has a good relationship with Mike Norvell as well as wide receivers coach Ron Dugans. This is a recruitment that I think is going to kind of stand around for a little bit longer. I wouldn't really buy into the hype of Florida State getting him just yet, but if Brian Hartline moves on to another place, while he does love Ohio State, that is his main recruiter at Ohio State. We'll kind of see how things factor in. But as of right now, if he did decommit from Ohio State, I would kind of pencil in Miami right now as the team to watch with alongside with Florida. But right now, I think Florida's kind of went in a different direction. I think Miami's kind of went the full send on him at this point. Also having JoJo Trader helps with that regard, but we'll definitely see how Florida State kind of factors into all of this. Will he be intimidated by the 4 receivers there? No, I don't think so. I think the staff would kind of go in and they would say yes to Jeremiah Smith if he wanted to commit right away. No questions asked. You try to figure out numbers later. You want to get as many talented receivers on this roster as you possibly can, because there's no telling what's going to happen with Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman and some other guys on this roster as well. You just need to find out, get the best playmakers on offense and just figure out numbers later, because let's face it, Jordan Travis is not going to be here after this upcoming season, and you have to find playmakers that are going to be on that side of the ball to help out your quarterback. And I think whether it's Tate Rodemaker or AJ Duffy or Brock Glenn or Luke Kromenhawk, I mean, there's a lot of options there. Can they be able to service and get a talented wide receiver to make the quarterback's job a little bit easier? And Jeremiah Smith can definitely do that if he was able to come to Florida State. But right now, I think this is going to be an Ohio State lead right now, and it's going to be quite that way. It's going to be very, very hard to push him in a different direction. But, man, if Hartline gets another position, another opportunity somewhere, watch out. This could be really, really interesting. And just the fact that he's unofficially visited Florida State a couple of times now could be very interesting to see how Florida State kind of stacks up in this recruitment. Even if he does commit somewhere, maybe if he transfers down the line, maybe you might get another opportunity somewhere. But just overall, man, this is a huge, huge, huge get if Florida State were able to do so. Number 2 prospect in the country of the 24 class in terms of the 247 composite. And I think it could be a get that Florida State would definitely cherish for the rest of their time in this recruiting class. But I really appreciate all the love and support so far. Let's try to get this video up to 75 likes. I'm trying to get as much good news as I can out for Florida State football in terms of team news and recruiting news. Be sure to follow my Instagram account and my Twitter account, because I am posting there daily as much as I can. I also do a lot of contributor articles on Chop Chat as well. If you haven't checked those out, be sure to do so as well. And I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of the day. And as always, go Noles.